Okay, because it's glitching. All right, so no countdown. All right, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Blitz City Podcast. I'm your host, Kobe Orr. This is my co-host, Clay McCarter, and we are with the fellas, man, the whole panel. Kelly Flicks, y'all know what he do. Y'all know my guy, Zach, the Blue Bloods. What's good, man? What's good, y'all? What's going on?
What's up, fellas?
Doing good, man. I mean, Clay, I thought you were gonna be way more excited about the black uniforms. Like, you sound a little perturbed.
Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. This entire week, in terms of like just work, has been just like. So I don't know. I'm just like in the decompressed mode. Just got done. Just literally just got home like probably 10 minutes ago. So
I feel that.
I feel that, man. The black uniform. Super excited. Tuesday for the Netflix documentary. Super excited. Super excited.
Oh, it's Tuesday.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we in this.
Yep.
All right, so let's start with the first topic. Something I actually seen this whole relegation system thing being talked about a little bit more over the past couple of weeks. I even saw I do really try this on NCAA 14 to see how it would work, and it's kind of intriguing to me. That's why I want to talk about it. Should college football adopt the regulation system? And like when I looked at it, I was like, it would definitely make college football more entertaining. It'll give fans a lot more to talk about as far as trash talk goes. Like, you talking, y'all got kicked out of the ACC and now you're group of five. You know, like y'all got to fight your way back. I kind of want to see this happen. I'm not gonna lie. How y'all feel about it?
I mean, okay, so the funny thing is, like, about 2 years ago, I did a full episode about this. Like, before, like, I even came to YouTube, like, when we were strictly P5, like, me and Brandon broke all this down. And I think it would be, okay, if you want to increase the popularity of bowl games again, bring this back. Because guess what? We probably aren't tuning in to the Meineke Car Care Bowl on Tuesday night right now. But if we had Florida facing, like, what group of five team? Coastal Carolina on a Tuesday night for Florida to go down to the Sun Belt in Coastal Carolina to get to the SEC. Could you imagine?
Oh my God.
Sign me up for that. And I think, okay, so here's the only reason that I think it would be interesting is because we know college football is full of ebbs and flows in terms of which programs are good, which programs are bad. And there's always in like a 4 or 5 year period, something like that, depending on the program. It would be perfect because of some of these programs that are on like the highest of highs in the group of five, some of the other, some of the less talked about conferences, they could utilize that and get an opportunity to play in a bigger conference or whatever you want to say. And some of the teams that are struggling would have a chance to, let's say Missouri right now, 6-6 maybe next year. Man, if they were playing in one of the group of five conferences, 10-2? 11-1, depending on what the out of conference schedule would be. So I think it would be really interesting and also give teams something to fight for at the end of the season and reward the teams that are winning and punish the teams that suck.
Because let's not act like the SEC isn't tired of Vanderbilt, being what they are. Like I'm all for it. Is what I'm saying. Kelly, what about you?
I mean, I can't lie. Like you're saying, it's Vanderbilt. You got your dead weight in every conference, right? That's going to be a thing. And you always want to slice that fat off, and let's find a way to do it. But the only problem with this is that money they signed for these contracts, all right? I don't think anybody's going to forfeit their $50 million payout per year at the SEC because they had to fall down to CUSA. So while this is like a fun concept, maybe this could be applied to like just bowl season. But I kind of feel like there's enough parity in college football as is. I mean, we see enough FCS over FBS matchups. We see enough bottom of the conference beating the top of the conference type of matchups to the point where I think this parity we have in college football now is what drives football and what drives the viewership up. The fact that we don't know what can happen every week between some of these schools. Some schools is landslide, but some of these schools, the parity is so close to where it's like, well, why do we need to kick out the bottom schools if we know the best schools will always give us the competition we want to see?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with all you guys. I think that, like you were saying, Kelly, the dead weight in a lot of conferences is I mean, it's easily noticeable. You can go through probably every conference and name teams and be like, all right, they're always bottom tier. But, they also bring things to that conference in other sports. Like Vanderbilt with baseball is like lights out on a year-to-year basis. Basketball, they're trying to make a little bit of a name for themselves, but Yeah, I mean, I think it would be really cool. The one thing that I think out of all of it is, can we please just have Notre Dame just join a conference that's not like subject to like each sport, like basketball. What for basketball? Weren't they Big East, and then like for COVID they got put to ACC play?
Now they're in the ACC full time. I think in every sport but football.
And it's like, I mean, come on, like why not? You know what I mean? But I don't know. I think it'd be really cool though.
Yeah, I agree with Kelly though. It will never happen. Like to me, it would just be like a fun idea to like toss around, because like what you would have to probably do is structure it where it kind of like the MLB, where there's like feeder conferences underneath each conference. So you would pair the SEC with the Sun Belt, you would pair the ACC with the AAC, you would have to pair the Mountain West and the Big 12. Like you would have to have a feeder conference because you couldn't just randomly relegate teams. And like with all the TV contracts and the new college football playoff, like there's no chance because no one's giving up that shot to go to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And you know what? That kind of like brings me to the next thing, right? Realignment, bro. Because I just read up on some stuff today. Like it seems like it's really starting to, and maybe it's been affecting college football, but for me, it seems like it's really starting to affect some tradition, like the traditional values of college football. Because when I read about the rivalries and how it affected the rivalries, I saw that Oklahoma in the Oklahoma State matchup, the Bedlam matchup, is probably going to be gone after this season. They've been playing that game since 1904, before Oklahoma was even a state. And it's gone now because of realignment. I don't like that. Like, because at a certain point, you're getting to a point where everything that makes college football great, you're ruining it. You know, which is why I kind of see what these old heads we talk about in the comment section sometimes. Like, it gets to a point where y'all starting to ruin it for me. Even I didn't even know Oregon State. That's up in the air now. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think it was our president or our director who said, you know, we're going to try our best to keep this matchup going. But when they asked, is this going to be every year thing still once y'all move? It was no answer. Like, he deflected on that. That's unfortunate. You know, I want to see, because the rivalry has gotten better between us over the past few years. It's been a lot more competitive, and now we don't even know if we're going to get that on a yearly basis anymore. Just when it's starting to get good, I don't really like what realignment is doing in college football, especially the rivalries. But how do y'all feel about it?
I think
1,000%.
cool. I definitely think it's cool with like the majority. I feel like of the historic rivalries. Not to bring up Notre Dame again, but I mean they're not really in a conference, so I feel like that's really not going to impact them. I mean they're going to be able to play that game again more than likely. I mean you still have your Iron Bowl still going to be intact. Your Florida Georgia game will still be intact. The Oklahoma Texas, I mean, with them joining SEC, that'll still be intact. But then you have like your interconference things, like your FSU Florida, that's still going to be played. Your Georgia Tech Georgia, that's still going to be played. I think more so is they'll realize maybe once it gets closer to it and everything like kind of like simmers out in terms of all right, who's in what conference, what rivalry games, everything. It's just going to be a scheduled game maybe differently. It might not be played at the same time anymore, but I feel like they're going to try to keep a lot of it intact because of, like we all know, Doggo.
Yeah, I'm with Kobe on this. Like, I think like the fact that Texas A&M and Texas haven't played since, I mean, when's the last game that was? I mean, it's been forever.
Oh my God,
like that game should yeah, something like that. I mean, that game should be played yearly. Like that's ridiculous. And I think I want to say it was Josh Pate posed a question now. Like I think it was a good one. If you could have a chance, like you with a press of the button to revert college football back to 2007 or keep it like this, what would you do? And I think like 90% of college football fans would revert it back to 07.
Of course.
In terms of the structure and stuff like that, like absolutely. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's about money. And so I get why the changes are happening, and there's some good that's come with it. The transfer portal, amazing thing. The red shirt rule, like we've had good improvements on college football, but the overall realignment is just not good for college football at the end of the day. Like I just, if you could go back to 07 and give me the 12-team college football playoff with all the conferences, how they were with who was at what level, man, sign me up for that every day. I just think it's become more of a money grab, more so than like preserving the history of college football. Because I don't even think it's the historic rivalries. What about just the rivalries that have developed recently. Like I look at it just in terms of, I mean, we all know the teams like Florida LSU probably not going to happen every year, but that's like a tier below like historic rivalry. That's a rivalry game. Auburn LSU not going to happen every year. Like and even some of the Pac-12 games that are really good. USC Oregon probably not going to happen every year.
Right.
That's a game you look forward to. What about Washington Oregon? That depending on if they go divisionless, that might not be a game that gets because you get to play maybe the Oregon State game every year, but does that mean you get to play Washington every year? Not necessarily.
Right.
And so, like, there's a lot of games up in jeopardy right now. I just don't think it's good for overall college football.
And then I also think about not just this affecting football, but every other sport, right? Like, can you imagine being like a volleyball player or something like that for Oregon? You have to travel to Rutgers when you have a class during the middle of the week, and you got to be back like in like 24. Like how? Because every sport doesn't get that same luxury travel wise that football gets. We were just talking about this on Coach I's show. So it's like, how does that work, man? Like this is we thinking so much about the money, but it's like it's going to take a lot out on these kids, man.
Right. Yeah. Now, if you even think about the way the direction that college football is going nowadays, which is this national approach, you're going to lose rivalries naturally, right? If USC and UCLA didn't move to the Big Ten together and that rivalry was broken, that changes a lot of things. So I think the biggest thing with this whole realignment situation is that institutions that have brother and sister schools need to continue to stay together. I think it was smart that Arizona State moved to the Big 12. I thought that it was pretty smart that Utah moved into the Big 12 with another school like BYU that's down the road. When it comes to making these different moves for your future, I think that you inherently lose rivalries. We saw that from the first leg of realignment where you go Colorado leaves the Big 12, they lose their rivalry with Kansas State for a while, right? We've seen that with Texas A&M and Texas, like Blue said. I think that these rivalries, they're not meant to get lost, but they're gonna get lost in the shuffle. But when it comes down to it, you still want to preserve certain rivalries, especially in-state rivalries that you have with other institutions that are at the FBS Power 5 level.
Remember Missouri and Kansas used to be rivals. They used to play that in Arrowhead. Right. Like that was a big game. Like especially that what was it, the 07 game or 08 game when they like Kansas and Missouri were both top 5 teams.
I can't remember that.
That game was huge. Like that's another rivalry that got lost by them leaving. And what happens if Kansas State splits up?
And that was a great venue for that game too, Arrowhead. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's pretty lit. I mean, and even losing these rivalries, right? The reason why it hits so crazy is the fact that they aren't conference rivalries, right? Like now these games don't matter as much. If you lose to your non-conference rival, it doesn't matter as much with you trying to get to the college football final. It doesn't.
Well, I'd look even at the FCS level. I mean, I know people aren't going to agree. I mean, does the Aggie Eagle Classic hit the same now that A&T isn't in the MEAC? Does it carry the same type of weight? Because, like, if North Carolina Central loses to A&T last year but goes on to keep winning the Celebration Bowl, does that matter at the end of the day?
Right. Right. It's not the same. Clay, you got something to add to it?
Didn't I go first?
Oh, my bad. I did you.
Yeah.
I'm caught up in the topic. My bad. All right, so Johnny Manziel. I appreciate that documentary for so many reasons. One, because he got to tell his side of the story. Because, I mean, if y'all remember back then, Johnny Manziel, he was getting tore up through the media. We just thought everybody else just thought, oh, this kid is such a spoiled, entitled brat, asshole, all of this. We didn't know what he was going through, right? Because it is really a lot to have all that sudden fame instantly to where you can't even go to class. You got to take classes online now because you're famous and everybody's just giving you stuff. But we also got to see the dark side of the NCAA, which we already knew about how they were making money off of them and all that. So I appreciated it. As far as my thoughts on it goes, Johnny's really a wild boy. All right, and I think he's a legend of college football. Using the fourth string quarterbacks pissed to pass a drug test. I mean, he's a legend to me. He's a legend to me. I appreciate that documentary a lot. What was y'all thoughts on it? What was something that stood out to y'all about that documentary? I want to know.
So I think I talked about it one time on on one of the episodes that we had, or it might have been whenever we got done and we were all just kind of chopping it up. So growing up, obviously seeing him, hearing about all the things that he did, watching the documentary, and knowing that I've had a personal, like, in life story about, like, being around him and meeting him, I see that years later, he still does very similar things. I'll say that he probably went way harder back then, or maybe because he has the money, like, and he's like older, maybe he goes way harder now. But to sit, like, to go to a random, like, club in Chicago, downtown Chicago, go in through the kitchen, go in there and just feel so out of place because the gentleman who I went to the Chicago with, his cousin was one of the bouncers there, and he's like, well, why don't you come by? Walk in, it's $5,000 for a table just to get in, and we basically kind of get like a walk through the kitchen, hey, you're going in, and just kind of just like stay low key kind of thing. Johnny Manziel sitting down in a corner booth with like supermodels and friends and girls walking around wearing like the thickest like diamond chains that are all like 6'2" supermodels, probably from like Sweden or some random, Birkin bags and everything, and Johnny's just sitting there, green hoodie, black bandana, Travis Scott's pair of J's, fat Rolex on, and then as we're all leaving, I walk through the kitchen. Him and his friends walk through the kitchen as well behind me. My man Couchy's like to his friend, you got a lighter in my pocket? I was like, I do. Stood outside, smoked a Camel Crush cigarette with this man at 2:30 in the morning, and then he goes hops in Rolls Royce Cullinan with like 4 women and one of his friends. I think it was Mike, honestly, the guy that makes music. Just wild experience to see, like, the whole time, like the entire time of him being in there, like that later, and seeing how he got down is like put him in a college aspect. And then what they talk about in the documentary is like, dude, he must have been like the man, like nobody can mess with me type thing. And honestly, I wish that I went to Texas A&M during that time.
I think we all do.
Honestly.
Right. Look super lit. I mean, one thing I will say, the biggest takeaway I have from this whole situation is that what I thought Johnny was doing, he was doing, like, probably times 10.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the whole makeup, his friend made up the whole lie about his dad being an oil bear and all this. And I'm not gonna lie, that was like his saving grace in my mind. Like, it was like, oh, okay, he's playing with house money. Like, who cares, right? Turns out he's just making racks on racks every other month. He's traveling to Miami. He's doing it big with his homie, to the point to where I'm like, oh, so all this was like pretty much just that was talking about Johnny Manziel. Like, everybody's saying that he may lack the work ethic. He did. Everybody's saying he partied every night. He did. Even after the game, he did all the things everybody said, but was still a Heisman winner, still beat Alabama, still led a new team in the SEC to plus 8 wins a season. So it means something, but it's great to see the background behind what was going on. And it's sorry to see that he cut his homie off when he got big. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
They did him dirty. Like, bro, that dude saved your life. Like,
Right.
he was out here lying to the NCAA, laundering the money. Like, he was doing, like, he was your right hand man, and now y'all just don't talk because y'all didn't vibe. Like,
That's
after
crazy.
like, bro,
That's
I'd be
crazy.
that man. That dude should have unburied all the bodies, unlaundered all the money. Like, nah,
yeah.
man, he was gonna
Pull
cut
all
me
the
off.
skeletons out of the closet.
Even if
Yeah,
y'all
that's
are vibing for,
ridiculous.
like, I gotta part you with a certain amount of money or something. I can't just cut you off.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, like, at least, like, hopefully after they, like, this came out, like, he at least shot him a text and was like, I appreciate you. Like, that's the least, and send him a Venmo. That's it.
Right.
Like, that's ridiculous that he cut him off. That was one of my takeaways. It's like, that was when he said they weren't friends anymore. I was like, hang on, hold up. I need to rewind this. Like, what all did you do for this man?
Right.
Yeah, like, that's crazy, because I thought at the beginning, I thought he was going to be one of the guys at his house drinking, hanging out in Arizona or wherever they were. It turns out they're not even friends anymore. That's just crazy. But no, I think that, like, the biggest thing is, man, I think when he was talking about just like how his life changed, and like, I think one of the biggest scenes was like his mom. It was like right after they got back from that flight, and she was like, he looked scared. And I was like, man, I never even thought, because listen, we're like all like the media and like fans, like, we're all conditioned to like criticize these guys to death. Man, could you imagine being 18, 19 years old? And now, like, you run an entire city pretty much.
Bro.
And you're walking down like this place with thousands of people, and everyone wants a picture, everyone wants an autograph, everybody wants a piece of your time, and you're just an 18, 19-year-old kid. Like, all of us went to college and have been around the college life, but all we had to think about was getting to class and getting back to our dorms.
Literally.
Like, that's it. Like, we could walk across campus, and unless you saw one of your friends or someone who really knew you, you didn't have to worry about talking to anybody. If you didn't want to, you could have put in headphones. You could have he couldn't go anywhere after that. Like,
I just don't be exhausting.
Yeah, it had to be exhausting. I just don't think he was ready for it, man. So as much as, like, yes, he did it to himself, there was a lot of self-destructive behavior that he had. At the end of the day, it's just like, man, I just don't know. It just shows that not everyone's ready for that type of fame and attention and responsibility. And I mean, it's a lot to put on the back. And that, I think, that was what makes the success stories coming out of college football, college sports in general, so great. It's like, man, these guys are tasked with like carrying the world at 18, 19, and the ones that do it is just insane.
Man. And just to add on top of that, this is all being done in Texas, where football is king. It is God. It is more important than church. You feel me? Like, football is everything in Texas. So, I mean, the fact that he had to go through all that, and then I remember a quote from Friday Night Lights, the TV show, not the movie, where she was just like, you make these kids in the celebrities, like athletes, guys. And they can't handle all that, man. They can't handle all that. He should not have been. It should have never gotten to the point where this man cannot go to class like a regular student because he won a football game. It shouldn't have been that, man. But
especially him. I don't think because some guys could have done it. Like, I think there's some famous football players that probably could have handled online classes, but just not him. And I think, what was it? Cliff Kingsbury said it. He was like, bro, as soon as we shifted him into online classes, like, that wasn't for Johnny. Like, that wasn't his thing. And like, it's weird that he cut off his one friend that I mean, he was kind of enhancing his bad behavior, like helping him cover it up. But at the end of the day, like, it also shows that you got to surround yourself with some people that can keep you out of trouble when you reach that. Man, if you surround yourself with people who are just going to gas you up all the time, and it's like, yeah, man, we absolutely should fail a drug test right before the NFL Combine. Like, those people can't be in your circle. Like, you gotta. That's the thing. But shout out to the law. That was a genius, and that took off because I've said it. Like, all of us have had conversations probably off camera about Johnny Manziel. It's like, man, but he was rich. He came from a rich family. Like, up until that documentary, I thought his family was rich and they don't have any money. Like, that is so genius of a lie. And shout out to that guy for PR, for like making that stick. Like the clip of Skip Bayless saying it and all, like, that thing. What a lie! What a lie!
Yeah, no, that guy was definitely the early 2000s version of a handler that we see nowadays. You know what I mean? These guys, these NIL deals, and how do I get the deal done? There's usually a handler behind the scenes. Even with these top 5-star recruits, there's a handler back there. There's some trainer guy that's taking all the calls, making things happen, kind of like how his homie was. But what I will say all about Johnny, one thing that kind of disturbed me a little bit was the coach's hands-off approach. Like, I got to be real. They knew exactly what was going on, and they just allowed it to the point to where, like, all right, he did it, but we're going to suspend him. And that's what threw me off the most. If you're going to allow this player to do this, come into practices drunk, play in a game visibly drunk, right? At warm-ups drunk, play in a game, then weeks from then, you go back and go, oh, well, you need to be suspended because your character and you're doing things that's detrimental to the team. Because to me, a coach is supposed to build leaders, supposed to build young men into men, right? And if you're not doing that, you're just enhancing bad behavior. So I think there was a combination of things. Of course, he may not be with the best group of friends in college, but at the end of the day, you got to have some leadership from your coaches, the guys you're with, probably 6 hours out of the day.
And you know what, though? That really made me look at Cliff Kingsbury a lot differently too. Did he not seem like a little bit of an enabler? Like, did he not seem like, you know what, Johnny's kind of making me look good right now, so I'm gonna just let him do him? Bro, you knew Cliff knew what was going on more than anybody else on that staff.
Yo, this reminded me so much. It reminded me so much of the Josh Gordon story. The same way, this his assistant coach is literally giving him like drugs, bro. Like these guys are like literally enabling these players' bad behavior to the point where they know it's wrong. They're grown men. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know the path in which this player may go in, but they don't care because of the success that the player's given on the field, which is sad.
So yeah, overall that was just a crazy documentary. All right, but next topic. Who are y'all's top 5 Heisman candidates for the upcoming season? Because now some of them are obvious, right? Because like when I look at mine, Caleb Williams, that's obvious. Drake May is obvious. Marvin Harrison Jr., I guess for some people it's obvious, for other people it's not really realistic. Just because he's a wide receiver and this is turned into a quarterback award. But then I'm gonna go Jaden Daniels, Dark Horse, Bo Nix. If Bo Nix can sweep through the Pac-12 in his last year, if, which he will do.
That's a big one.
That's a different story.
It's all good. I know Clay's about to come with the Graham Mertz. Go ahead, man.
Hell no. I saw a stat the other day that said Graham Mertz against AP ranked teams, completion percentage, touchdown ratio, interception percentage, yards per game, dead last in all of FBS his entire career. So, I can give you who's the favorite to not win the Heisman. It's definitely Graham Mertz. Top 5 for the Heisman, which is a word that I don't even think is probably in Graham Mertz's vocabulary. Might be in a book that he owns. There's a couple Heisman trophies at the school that he plays for. I mean, he will never see one, but Caleb, Drake, not in order. Caleb, Drake, Marvin, Jaden Daniels for sure. Jaden Daniels has some. I mean, they have a real shot at winning the West this year, I'd say. And then I don't know why I want to say it, but I have a feeling that if they play fire, they win the big game, you can probably make a statement for McGarry from Michigan. Unless Blake Corum takes the hype again and comes back healthy, because I feel like he stayed healthy. He probably was winning that thing last year. But who knows? Little Etienne for Florida. Send him to New York.
I knew you were going to sneak one in there.
Any more Florida players we should know about?
Yeah. Is it just Etienne?
Honestly, really, no. Our wide receivers are iffy. Ricky Pearsall's got a name to one award list, but other than that, I mean, Etienne's not even going to start. They're going to take Montrell Johnson still, but they're going to just kind of split up some backs, kind of share the load between them. But other than that, man, no.
Oof. I think I think Caleb, obviously, Drake May. I'm gonna throw Blake Corum in there. Like he kind of took my that kid can ball out, man. I mean, I thought he deserved it last year before he got hurt. I agree with Clay on that. And then looking at fourth, I think I'll throw Jaden Daniels in there. But Jaden Daniels is just so iffy for me. But I want to say the defensive guy, because I always vouch for defensive guys, Harold Perkins.
Yeah, he's a dog. He's a certified dog. He goes top 5 next year, probably.
Yeah, if there's a defensive player in the country that can make a run for the Heisman, it's Harold Perkins. And then I guess you can throw Marvin Harrison in there. I'll put Marvin Harrison over Jaden just because I think Marvin Harrison also has the hype. As long as Ohio State can solve the quarterback, man, he's guaranteed 1,000 yards. Like whatever the odds are in Vegas on a 1,000-yard season for Marvin Harrison Jr., put all you owe on it because that's a guarantee if they have an average quarterback.
Before Kelly goes, question for you: If they win their conference and he balls out, do you think that they try to make a case for Jordan Travis at FSU?
Mm-hmm. He would be like, if y'all did a top 10, he'd be in my top 10. I think Jordan Travis could have that. Last year, people really slept on him in terms of the step he took as a passer. I want to say 24 touchdowns, 5 picks last year for Jordan Travis. Plus he can run.
Move like with his legs,
Yeah.
but he definitely started showing arm talent and like getting a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, I think if FSU goes out there and hoops and gets through that schedule, and if they hit like that upset on like Clemson.
Yeah.
North Carolina, something like that. Like he could definitely have a little bit of smoke coming his way, but he's got to put up crazy stats though, because it's going to be loaded against him in the quarterback category.
Right. Yeah, he's gotten significantly better from his I think it was his freshman year. It kind of looked a little like I'm not sure, and the coach is on the hot seat, but last year Jordan Travis definitely straightened things out. Blue mentioned Blake Corum. You guys mentioned Blake Corum. Blake Corum is also on my list. Got a couple other position players, but with Blake Corum, man, he's it's like a match made in heaven down in Michigan right now. You know, it's a team that's run first, a team that's all about the front seven, a team that's essentially built around his play, right? J.J. McCarthy needs to lean on a guy like that in the backfield. So I think Blake Corum has another big year. He ran for 1,400 last year. You know what I mean? It's hard to take that away from him after an injury. You know, you kind of got to expect for him to still stay in stride. Another guy I got that you guys didn't mention, Michael Penix out of Washington. Quarterback out of Washington. He has two great receivers over there, Rome Mundunzi and Jalen McMillan. Both of those guys went for 1,000 yards last year. Rome went for 1,100. Michael Penix is a guy transferred from Indiana. It's kind of been recreating his career, recreating his narrative. But with his arm and Washington's offense, I can't see him falling off from last year. And he ended the year last year throwing like for 300+ yards in 8 straight games. So he's on a roll. He's in a good offense, and his guys will return that receiver. So I'm expecting good things from him. Guys we already mentioned, you know, Caleb Williams definitely on the list. Marvin Harrison, a guy that if I had a Heisman ballot last year, I would have put him in for the last 5. Then another guy that you guys did mention, Jaden Daniels. I was kind of worried about putting him on this list, and he didn't make my top 5. But the thing with Jaden Daniels is that he's such a low volume guy, right? He never really gets that high volume you want. He will never probably pass for over 35 passes. He's just not that guy. Even at Arizona State, getting to see him go up against my brother down in Arizona, there was a lot of times where you look at Jaden Daniels, you go, damn, he has a lot of potential, man. 6'5", he's a dual threat, has a great arm, nice short arm, side arm release. He can do a lot of things in a run pass option set. But the problem is that he takes care of the ball, right? He doesn't take a lot of big chances, which you can see in the stat line a lot of times with Jaden Daniels. He may win a game, but throw for 225, run for 85, right? And Jaden Daniels is kind of that guy. I'm not sure if he has that Heisman potential. So going through my 5, let me make sure I got my 5th guy on there because Jaden isn't on there. So I got Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, Michael Penix, Blake Corum, and then lastly, Drake May.
Okay. I see Bolden Vision got Shador Sanders. He's agreeing with Fox Sports, who had Shador as a potential Heisman finalist as well. How y'all feel about Shador?
No comment.
Yeah, no.
If Travis Hunter is playing receiver full time,
maybe. But other than that, they are not good.
Yeah, no.
I mean, he got Travis at receiver, Jimmy Horn.
Not a top 50 wide receiver in the country. Continue.
Yeah. I don't know if he got enough. Man.
I mean, has a quarterback with a losing record ever won the Heisman?
No.
Like in modern history, maybe back in like the 40s, there was someone who did, but yeah. I what's the worst record? Probably either Lamar or Robert Griffin are the players who won it on like the worst teams.
I mean, shit, you might want to say, I mean, not worst teams, but maybe record-wise.
Yeah, record-wise is what I was meaning. I didn't mean like...
Was Johnny a 10-win team?
Yeah, I want to say
A&M. Even Lamar Jackson had like important wins, like over Florida State, who was ranked, top 10 in the country at the time. Like, so we don't even know if Shador can get that yet with Colorado. Like, we don't know if he can beat TCU or Oregon, all these guys that he's going to have to play. We don't know if he's going to sneak a win like that.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's a shot in the dark to me. I mean, the whole thing with Shador Sanders, if you're going to win Heisman, you got to win games. And if Colorado can't win over 4 games, then what are we left with? You know, right? That's not a Heisman candidate. I have rarely seen guys throw for 300 yards a game and only win 4 games in the year. You know what I mean? Usually when you're losing like that, you aren't playing very well. You're not losing just based on the fact that your team isn't good. Your performance is also low.
Yeah.
If your quarterback's throwing for 300 yards a game and y'all ain't winning games, something's wrong. Or he's just throwing a lot of picks.
Like that. What was it? The Jerry Rice Valley team with Totten. They were scoring 60.2 points per game, and they didn't win their conference.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Jameis Winston for the Bucks. I mean, he led the league in passing, threw for 5,300 yards, but he threw 30 interceptions.
Oh God.
Waldo says that any surprises to win the Heisman. Bo Nix. All right. Look out for that. I'm telling you, Waldo. Bo Nix. End of the season.
You know what's crazy?
In New York, man.
They did a graphic the other day saying top 50 running backs in college. They had both of Michigan's guys in the top 20.
Donovan Edwards too. Okay.
The guy who was behind Blake whenever Blake got hurt. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, it was Donovan Edwards. He's good. Like, I'm not saying that. It's just like if Corum is healthy, they'll split too many carries for Edwards to win. The only person who I think would have enough carries to get out of those two would be Corum. That's the only reason I can't give it to Edwards. If Edwards was the lone back, I wouldn't mind him being in the top 20 for the Heisman. But I'm telling you, Kobe, you're gonna have to come to Mobile because that's my birthday weekend. Is usually Heisman weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have to come do a wellness check in Mobile. Bo Nix wins the Heisman. I'll be so upset. I'll be so upset. My birthday weekend ruined.
Doug, Blue, I swear to God, bro, I really does hope this happened now, just because you told me that. I'm gonna hit you up. Just know that. Even if he makes the ceremony, I'm hitting you up. I want you to know that.
Oh, all right. God.
Next question. There appears to be impending three-way battle that's going to take place in the Big Ten East between Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. Who y'all have coming out of that? And when I thought about it, I was like, the obvious answer is Michigan because Kyle McCord, we just don't know what he's going to do or what he's going to be for Ohio State. They have J.J. McCarthy at Michigan, who's going into another year as QB1. You have Blake Corum, healthy, hopefully, when he steps on the field. Donovan Edwards. But Penn State shows a lot of promise to me, man. Like, I really do feel like Penn State – okay, because you bring in two receivers who – they're not superstars, but they're good quality starters. One from Florida State, one from Kent State, and Malik McClain and Dante Cephas. But you're looking for your QB1. I understand that. That could be a question. However, Drew Aller is a former five-star quarterback. Oh, wait, you said something?
No, I think maybe my phone vibrating. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Okay. But yeah, Drew Aller, former five-star quarterback, 344 yards, 7 touchdowns. He showed a lot of promise last year. I think he'll get that QB1 spot. On top of that, man, you bring back a 1,000-yard rusher and a former 4-star running back as well to add to that duo. The defense still looks pretty good. Penn State I'm going to go Penn State. I'm going to pick Penn State. I feel like they could potentially beat Michigan and win that spot to potentially get in the playoffs. It may be a long shot. It may be a bold take. I'm going to go Penn State. I like the potential that they have.
I think with everything returning just in favor of Ohio State has to figure out a quarterback situation. Penn State's got to prove it. Man, bearing no injury, I feel like it's Michigan's thing to lose, man. I mean, really, if Blake Corum comes back, hops in the saddle, hits the ground running again, defense improves a little bit, they go through another year of experience with quarterback being comfortable in the same scheme and going through that. I mean, I feel like right now it's Michigan's to lose, but Ohio State can Ohio State, and they throw somebody out there, and he throws for 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. Probably has a little bit of legs, and a running back steps up hard. They still have Trayvon Henderson. Yeah. They can still be good. I mean, it's Ohio State, man. They're gonna be a factory for talent. Always will be. Don't matter. But I think it's gonna go Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, depending on what the quarterback room looks like for them. I think Ohio State's got to be at the bottom of the list right now because their biggest weakness is the one weakness you don't want to have.
True.
Yeah. That's the only reason I'm going with Michigan. It's just because of quarterback question marks for the two other teams. Like now, like Clay said, I think Ohio State has potential there. I think Penn State's 5-star, though, is the X factor. If he comes out there and balls out, they have a running back in Singleton, who was a 5-star as well, who looked great last year as a freshman. Defense looks loaded. Offensive line is always pretty good. That could be an X factor team. But just with Michigan, you have a returning quarterback with playoff experience now who's won a championship in the conference. You have probably the best running back duo in the conference right now in Corum and Edwards. You're looking at the best, probably one, I would say a consensus top 3 offensive line in the country at Michigan right now. Defense is always going to be good under Harbaugh, especially with some of those pieces they got in the secondary. I just don't see how. I think with the momentum Michigan has, they've gotten the proverbial like monkey off their back by beating Ohio State 2 straight years. Yeah. It just seems like they have all the momentum in the world, and with everything returning, if this is the year Harbaugh can get to the national championship, this might be the team that he could finally win it with.
Right. I mean, this Michigan team, you know, they're a team that brings their hard hat and their lunch bill, right? They're a team they're gonna win it in the trenches. That's kind of how Coach Harbaugh has built this team over the past 10 years. And now I think this Big Ten East, I saw a tweet that said the Big Ten East is one of the most difficult divisions in college football. And I gotta agree. If you look at it and really how they finished last year, Penn State was an 11-win team. You know, if they win a couple more conference games, they're in that conference championship. Another team to watch out for in the Big Ten East is Maryland. I think Tualia begins to figure it out down there in Maryland. This is around his 4th year now. So I think this Big Ten East, it might be a slaughterhouse, you know what I mean, when it comes to these teams playing against each other. I don't think anybody comes out unscathed. I do feel like Michigan, though, the team that they have, the experience that they have on this team sets them ahead of all the rest of these teams, right? I feel like everybody else is trying to play catch up. As good as Ohio State is and as much talent as they have, their defense is pretty bad. They can't stop anything. Offensively, you got to find your quarterback. So I think this is Michigan's conference to lose. I think the rest of these teams are looking at Michigan as the blueprint of what a winning team is in the Big Ten at this point in 2023.
Okay. Which brings us to our next topic, right? College football playoffs. Only 4 spots for this season until they expand it to 12 the following year. Who are your college football playoff contenders and pretenders? So for me, pretenders, Tennessee is a pretender. Joe Milton, just because he can throw a ball really far does not mean he will get you there. I am sorry. I don't care how much videos you show me of this man throwing the ball 80 yards. This man could throw a ball on his stomach 100 yards, and I would not care, bro, because in the game, he just has to be a good quarterback. And we all know he lost the starting job twice in his college career. I'm not buying it for Tennessee. Maybe if Nico comes in, maybe I'll reconsider depending on how he plays. But no, Tennessee is a pretender to me. And of course, Ohio State as well, just because of Kyle McCord. I don't see it. I don't know if Kyle McCord can rekindle that magic that he had with Marvin Harrison Jr. in high school. Maybe he can. But to me, until I see it, they're a pretender as well. But for contenders, LSU. LSU is a contender to me. And, of course, USC, the Trojans. Those are my contenders and pretenders. Who's y'all?
I would say I agree with the pretenders. I think Ohio State's got a lot to figure out. I mean, I feel like this is the first time in, like, probably 8, maybe 9 years that Ohio State hasn't really had it, like, figured out at quarterback. I mean, they've had guys that have – somebody maybe got hurt and came out, and they're like, oh, hold on, like, this is the next guy they got in the fold kind of thing, like your Cardale, JT Barrett. Who started in front of Braxton before Braxton started balling out and then moved to receiver?
I'm not sure.
That's a long time ago. I think that contenders you can't doubt them. You got to throw Georgia in there. Michigan, USC. Okay, LSU has a shot. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are like on that like that clasp of like one person at a certain position steps up, or as a collective whole, like in a secondary or a front seven kind of steps up, or O-line improves or something. Bama, we just don't know it's going to be their quarterback situation. I think this is the first time in a long time, I feel like I don't even really know like who their guaranteed guy is going to be at running back. But yeah, I would say Tennessee's best year they were going to have in the last probably 10 was supposed to be last year, and it got kind of ripped from them with Hendon getting hurt. But I think we've all said it multiple times. I think this is USC's natty to lose. Like, I feel like they determine their own destiny. I honestly do. I mean, you go through their schedule, do that, and then the surrounding teams around you in the top 5, top 10, factor in their schedules as well. Return a lot of talent. You have a Heisman winner. They very well could. That's my personal.
Hey, I don't know if I agree, but I like it though.
I just have to feel like, hey, there's so much hype behind Caleb Williams after winning the Heisman, him returning, saying he's going to be one of the best quarterback prospects, and God knows how long. When they said that him, based off of last year's talent compared to C.J. Stroud at Ohio State for whatever going through the combine, that Caleb Williams is a way better complete, like way more complete prospect, and he hasn't even finished college yet, kind of thing. Like all this hype kind of behind him is like he is nice. I think that they should win it. But that's for me.
Go ahead, Kelly.
All right. Well, just looking at the AP Top 25, one of my pretenders up here, it got to be Ohio State, man. I like Ohio State, some of their skill positions, but like at top 3 right now, I'm not feeling so hot about them. I can't lie. Not feeling hot about the Buckeyes. Another team that I thought was kind of high was Clemson. Got Clemson up here with Cade Klubnik. I'm not sure if any of us really believe in Cade Klubnik just yet. And it's going to take a couple of games for him to get going and show us that he can get Clemson on track to being what they could have been. Because, I mean, last year they did win almost like 11 games. They won almost every conference game. I think what will happen, and one team that will be a contender is going to be, I think my mic's going in and out. Contender is going to be, let's go with Florida State. I think Florida State ends up taking over the ACC. They become the kings of that conference, and things change mainly because of Jordan Travis, right? If Jordan Travis is the guy, then I think they go on and they contend to come out of the ACC. So that's my contender. A couple pretenders out of the top 10. I don't really consider anybody pretenders. So I'll leave like the Utah slander out of this.
Yeah. Okay. So how are we defining pretender? Are we defining that as someone who is probably projected to be in that won't make it?
Yeah.
Projected to be in the playoffs and not make it? Or are you saying
or projected to even have an actual shot at making the college football playoffs when there's no way? Like people talk about Ohio State in the college football playoffs this year. I just don't think I don't think there's a way that's happening, you know?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think USC makes it. I'm gonna count them as a pretender.
Ooh.
I know they have Caleb Williams. Lincoln Riley has consistently struggled with physical teams. From his time from Oklahoma to USC, Oregon, and Utah return a lot of talent.
They did.
And Utah has had their
return.
Yeah, that they return a lot of talent. Utah is built to beat USC and give them problems just like they did last year. And Oregon is primed again with a lot of talent to give USC all they want until USC and a Lincoln Riley team shows me they can play championship level defense. They're not a national championship contender. I disagree with Clay. If USC would have went up against Georgia last year, Caleb Williams would have been made to look completely different. Like I don't think USC comes within 2 touchdowns of Georgia last year.
DJ Stroud even fit.
Yeah, because he had Marvin Harrison Jr. There wasn't a wide receiver on Marvin Harrison Jr.'s level. Like, I don't care about Jordan Addison. He wasn't on Marvin Harrison Jr.'s level.
Yeah, no, he wasn't.
Jordan Addison, I would take top off the defense real quick, though.
He would, but I just don't see. Like, I still think Georgia beats USC convincingly just because Lincoln Riley just does not perform well in those games. Like, against defensive-minded coaches, he struggles so much. I think Utah's a contender. I think even when I look at the top, I know this is going to piss people off, and this is, I guess, full of hot takes. Texas is a contender too. Based on the way the Big 12 is trending, they might not face anyone who's going to give them problems. Oklahoma's on the downtrend. Baylor lost a lot. Oklahoma State's lost a lot, including their starting quarterback who transferred to Ole Miss. The only team might stand in their way is Kansas State, who also lost a whole lot. You going to tell me if Quinn Ewers can stay healthy, with all 5 starting offensive linemen coming back, your top 2 wide receivers coming back, and a lot of your defensive pieces, I think Texas is a contender.
Buddy, Quinn Ewers is going to be wearing a headset by week 3.
No, bro, Arch Manning is not that guy.
Wait until the boosters have something to say about it.
What?
That's crazy.
Wait until the boosters have something to say about it.
That's crazy. The boosters want to win games.
Arch is going to be there.
Well,
Before the end of the season, Arch will be the starter at Texas.
While we are talking about the Texas quarterback room, I think Malik Murphy's the best quarterback in that room. I'm not going to front.
He's right behind Ewers. I'm with you. He's better than Arch Manning.
Definitely.
And I said that on the show yesterday. Malik Murphy's better than Arch Manning right now, but he's not better than Ewers. Like Ewers, if he's healthy, has a win against Bama in his belt.
That's true. That definitely helps.
I agree, but I mean, it's also, I mean, it's subjective. Who could have known what he would have? We don't know. You know what I mean? But the way they were playing, I mean, I was sweating for Nick Saban, and I'm not even a Bama fan.
They were hot up until that injury, and it was just like such a fluke injury too, man. It kills me. But I think Texas can contend because the Big 12 is so bad. Like when you look at the Big 12 with all TCU lost to, if they can get past Kansas State, like there's not an elite team. Like I don't think Oklahoma's a top 25 team. They ranked them off a brand. Texas beat them 49-0 last year.
I think Venables is going to be out of Oklahoma in probably, I would say, a year or two. 2 probably max.
Yeah, Oklahoma has talent. Oh, they have talent.
But
I mean, they're
Oklahoma has,
top.
I think Venables is gone within the next 2 years.
Yeah,
I can see it. I mean,
being a defensive coach to come in there.
It's got to be the offense for me, Oklahoma. Like you got to think Dylan Gabriel was the guy, right? Come from UCF. It turns out that he's like a manager, game manager. You have this great spring game, right? 2022. You bring out 75,000 people. You bring out like 100 alumni on the field. He's like galvanizing this whole Oklahoma fan group, right? After Lincoln leaves, but when you watch the product on the field, losing, getting whooped on by Texas, not really competing for the Big 12. You go, shit, they go to the SEC next year? They aren't getting that much better, and they haven't changed the culture yet. So I think they still have the same problems they had last year going into this year, which is a big problem for me.
Is it a stretch to say that when them boys do come to SEC, is it a stretch to say Vanderbilt's going to be favored in that game?
Yeah, that's a stretch because Vandy's never going to be favored. But like, could Vandy beat them? Yes.
Vandy could beat them, yeah.
I mean, maybe if they were like just getting dragged with big games up like right before they play Vandy, like maybe they're coming off of Alabama, LSU.
Vandy's good for one sneak up game a year. Like Vandy's always good for that. Is like if they're okay, which they were way better than people are like giving them credit for last year. They snuck a few people. They can sneak up on someone real fast. Listen, Auburn's caught a loss to Vandy recently. Florida's caught an L to Vandy recently. Georgia, Kirby Smart's first year, caught an L to Vandy.
Bro, they had Keyshawn Vaughn. I was like, bro, he is so hard. And if he didn't get hurt, they were beating us that year too.
Vandy's had some good players. If they played anywhere other than Vandy, they'd be
yards at halftime.
Hey, Bolden, I can tell you what. I can tell you one thing. He's going to be Clemson. I can guarantee you that. I can't speak for everything else. It's a hard schedule. But he'll be Clemson.
That's crazy.
Dabo's going to go out there and game manage that game his way to a dub, even if it's by a point.
Bro, they're going to win 3-2.
If he's got to sit there and game manage that to where he doesn't take any explosive plays, all he's got to do is make sure he's getting that third down conversion and keep going and run that clock and take the game into possession. Dabo's going to coach his way to that win.
Man, it's Beamer boys, homie. Shout out to Boudini Vision.
Let's get it.
Spencer Rattler, because about the Beamer boys, what Shane Beamer did. All Shane Beamer has to do is like touch his shoulder. You know what I mean? And then you just become a Beamer boy. You know what I mean? So Spencer Rattler has become that. Spencer Rattler is now Unchained. Spencer Rattler it's gonna look like high school Spencer Rattler. All right, that's what I'm expecting. If I get anything less, I'll report back to you, Boudini Vision. But for now, though, member of the Beamer Boys, Spencer Rattler is going up. I think he'll get drafted this year.
I think he starts off the season game 1 with a loss.
No.
They're losing to North Carolina.
They're losing to North Carolina. Kobe, we talked about
Absolutely.
they're losing to North Carolina.
I'm not ready to say that yet.
All right.
I'm with you, bub.
We already talked about Texas
right now.
We already talked about Texas. Florida State. Can Florida State take over the ACC once Clemson leaves? Assuming they don't leave with Clemson, if they don't leave with Clemson, do you think it's theirs? It's their conference once Clemson leaves?
Is Clemson officially leaving?
I feel like I've seen so much articles with them being in that seven teams.
Because they said that there was an article, I want to say this week or last week, that the SEC is pulling back and no one wants Florida State and Clemson right now.
No. Who wouldn't want Florida State and Clemson?
The SEC's kind of paused on expanding right now, and the Big Ten doesn't want them.
The best situation for them as two schools is to stay right where they're at.
Yes.
Stay right
unless
where
they
you're
can
at
come
right now.
together. Unless you can come together.
right
If
where
you
you're at.
split up, I don't see them splitting up.
I'll take
In theory, they both leave. Who is it? North Carolina?
If I'm the SEC, I want to get North Carolina and Duke just for basketball.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, true.
Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine having Duke and North Carolina in the SEC for basketball money?
Okay. All right. Well, the Swamp Kings documentary, I think that's what it's called, right? Swamp Kings?
Yes, sir.
With Florida, the docuseries. So there's going to be a lot of guys who are in it. Tim Tebow's going to be in it. Urban Meyer didn't want to, but I think he realized how that would have made him look, so he ultimately agreed. There's going to be a lot of key players from that team on the docuseries, but some notable guys who decided not to. Cam Newton, Percy Harvin, the Pouncey brothers. It's a reason for that. I understand Cam. At a certain point, you get tired of talking about that laptop situation. You in your 30s. All right, that happened when you was a freshman. I get it. That's all people want to focus on. Percy Harvin, the Pouncey, why? What does this say? What are we gonna find out in this documentary that you just still don't want to talk about till this day? What is it? What happened inside that? How does this look right now that they don't want to be in it?
When I first saw that they said the Pouncey twins didn't want to be in it, and guys that have bricks outside the stadium, the only thing that came to my mind is they don't have any bad blood. Those guys are diehard Gators through and through. I think the only reason why I can't speak for Percy. I don't know why Percy's not in it. Cam Newton, I understand, but with the Pouncey brothers, I think the only reason why they might not be in it is because they don't want to be questioned about how good their friendship was with Aaron Hernandez during that time. Because if you guys don't know, I feel like the whole world probably knows by now. But during the whole Aaron Hernandez thing, whenever he had the gun stuck inside the car outside the club after the potential chain snatching, remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Pouncey twins were there. Other Florida players were there. Pouncey twins, up until before the whole crazy stuff came out about Aaron Hernandez, when he was still playing, they hung out outside of the league, outside of NFL. It was visibly seen on social media. I feel like they were tight with him, but I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be a bunch of crazy stuff that comes out, and I really, 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 really hope Riley Cooper's not in it.
I think there's some skeletons in that closet. I don't know why Cam would want to be in this. It's only bad stuff about Cam, so I completely understand that. Percy Harvin, I'm not sure. I'd hate to speculate about health issues and stuff, but I did know all the concussions and stuff did play a role in him leaving the league. So I'm not sure if he's wants to talk about football right now. But when it comes to talking about this era at Florida, right? At the time, it was one of the best eras of Florida football, right? The winning, the jerseys, Nike, everything being introduced, running the SEC. It was such a great time. You'd think as a college football fan, like, why wouldn't you want to talk about that? But the amount of allegations and investigations that has come from this team and from players involved with this team has been pretty amazing. I'm not going to lie. And you got to wonder how close that team actually is with each other, right? Because a lot of those guys went to school for 4 years together. How much do those guys talk after they leave Florida? You really got to wonder when certain guys are dropping out of interviews and things like this. Maybe that team wasn't as close as we thought they were, and they were just getting by week with talent.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the Pouncey twins, because I know they talked about the Aaron Hernandez thing on the pivot a little bit, and they kind of were like reserved about it. I mean, I still think like they still like rock with Aaron Hernandez now, just not like that side of him. Like they were like he was still a good, like I want to say they still got a relationship with like his daughter or whatever it is. Like they have a relationship with like the remaining family. So I just think it was a PR move for them. And for Cam, I mean, he was only at Florida for a year, and like he's kind of adopted like the Auburn over everything thing. So like I wouldn't expect him to be on a documentary about anything other than Auburn. Like he was on the Auburn documentary about the championship, about the Iron Bowl or whatever they did, the 30 for 30 on that. Like he's always on all about Auburn all the time, still on campus, comes to all the games. Like I just don't expect him to be involved with the Florida stuff. Like he's kind of like disowned that part. Like I've never even really heard him speak about
it. Even during this podcast, I seen him like he'll mention Tebow sometimes.
Yeah,
and like the kind of guy that Tebow was. So I'm like, I feel like if you're gonna talk about it, we might as well go all the way with it and just don't speak on Florida.
Yeah, I think it is. And then with Percy, I'm not really sure, but I just think the Pouncey brothers is Hernandez. And based on, I want to say Athlon released an article today or yesterday. They had like an early look at it, and apparently like Hernandez was like not even like mentioned for real in the documentary. Like it was more about Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow. Like apparently they called it more of like a promotional thing about Florida more so than like a like in-depth thing about like every single player. Because I mean that had legal issues. So I'm really not sure what the structure of it's going to be, but apparently Hernandez was not a big part of it.
That's lame.
Well, because they just made one that like the same producers that are making this are the ones that did the documentary on him. So maybe they just didn't want to like double that up.
Okay, so even if you don't want to talk about Aaron Hernandez, I'm not going to get to know how the relationship was between Riley Cooper and his teammates. I'm not gonna get to know none of the dirt. Like, come on, man. I just want to hear about how great Tebow was. We know this. He was America's golden boy for a long time.
The big thing for Riley was whenever he was already on the Eagles, though. Like the country concert, whenever he said like the racial slur. That was after he was already gone. But who knows? Maybe what kind of guy was he at college? Like that's something that would be nice to know. It's like, what if he was like a party animal? I mean, also to hear his side of it because he was Tebow's roommate.
Okay. I'm just saying, I hope they give us some dirt, instead of just trying to make it all a promote thing, but we'll see. Right. Last topic of the night, man. Intriguing week 1 matchups. I can go a lot of places.
Let's go.
All right. But App State, UNC, round 2. Oh my God. Because they almost did it. They almost pulled it off last time. I think they do it. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't care if it's at North Carolina's stadium now. I think App State comes out with that win. They were so close. I still can't even explain how they let that win slip at their stadium, and the fact that they even got North Carolina to come to their stadium. But I think they get a little get back. So I'm
with Carolina UNC
to see App State versus UNC. Also, of course, the obvious would be USC versus UNC. That's cool. That's great. College game day is going to be there, whatever. For me, it's App State and North Carolina, though.
Man, he can go a lot of different ways with this because I think there's some underrated ones like Boise State at Washington with all the hype Washington's getting. Boise State's been known to knock off a handful of really hyped, Power 5 teams. I think the Florida-Utah game, is that on Thursday or Friday night?
I think it's Thursday.
Yeah, I want to say it's Thursday, but man, Florida going all the way up to Utah, playing in the elevation. First time we get to see Graham Mertz as starting quarterback. We get to see what Billy Napier is. I think And then two, I think LSU Florida State for me highlights the week. I know like game day can't be there because it's on a Sunday night, but that game's going to be electric. You remember what happened last year with the tragedy that happened in terms of how they lost that game? I mean, I cannot wait for that one. That's a top 10 matchup, 6:30 on ABC. Sign me up for that on Sunday night. I don't even need NFL. We can push NFL back to the spring. Just give me those type of matchups on Sunday night over any Sunday night football game for the NFL.
Yeah.
That's got to be the headliner. You know, you think about what college football is on week one. You want to look at the best teams. You got to look at that LSU Florida State. The way it ended last year on the last second win, like that, all that stuff really matters. Another big game I got Clemson at Duke on a Monday. I like that. I like the program that Duke has been building over the past couple of years. New head coach and everything. And Clemson, I mean, this could be a trap game. Clemson is number 9 right now. Duke is unranked, all right? So just to me, it's going to be a game at an odd time, and pretty much week one is over, right? While guys are at film study, everybody's watching film, these guys are going to be facing off on a Monday night in an awkward time. So I think Duke might have a chance in this game. I think it's going to be an exciting game nonetheless.
I agree with all the matchups you guys said. I think another really intriguing matchup, back-to-back national champions playing the absolute powerhouse of UT Martin. Pretty cool.
I almost followed you up too, bro. I swear to God.
Yeah. That's intriguing because it's like, really, bro? Like, really? Okay. We'll see how the other kind of matchups play out. I don't know about the UNC USC game. When you were saying yours, you said UNC and then you said North Carolina. Were you saying NC State?
No, I meant South Carolina versus North Carolina. My bad if I said it wrong.
Who's App State opened up against?
Wait.
You said App State against North Carolina, and then you said USC UNC, so I was confused.
Yeah, that's week 2. App State
Week two,
and
okay,
North Carolina's week 2.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think UNC is going to win that first game.
I agree. I think
that Carolina bowl battle is going to be. It's going to be tough.
Crazy. That's crazy. Beamer ball, baby.
No, I mean, I think we've been hyping up Penn State on this show. West Virginia comes to Penn State week 1. That's not going to be like a cupcake game. West Virginia is always pretty good. I'm interested to see in prime time 6:30. I mean, that could be a really good game. I'll agree with Clay though. That Washington State traveling to Colorado State somehow, that future Mountain West matchup. Washington State preparing themselves early, going on the road against the Mountain West conference opponent in Colorado State week 1, which should be good as well.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
You went 2 seasons without a loss, and you just got done scoring 70 in a national championship game. You're playing the school of deaf and blind week 1. Like, I don't want to go out and try to build a resume because your schedule is very weak. But hey,
UT Martin's pretty good, just not playing Georgia. Like UT Martin's a pretty good team. Maybe not the school of deaf and blind, but
Georgia.
Yeah, it's like 30 more scholarships.
Yeah, give them some scholarships.
Yeah, one game I think is going to get hyped up a lot, though. Colorado at TCU. We got TCU, a team that just came out of the Big 12, and then we got Colorado, Coach Prime. What we're going to see from Shador. I think that game's going to get so much hype during the middle of the day. It's an early game for me, actually. This game says 9 a.m., so I guess it's 12 o'clock your guys' time. But it's going to be an early game, man. It'll probably kick off college football season for a lot of people.
Who's following up behind Duggins? Who's TCU's next?
The starter from last year. Kelly's son, or like the old offensive coordinator for Auburn.
Right.
Chad Kelly's son? Or not Chad Kelly. It's not Chad Kelly.
I'm about to say Chad Kelly's son?
Okay, Chad Kelly, bro, he was pulling AKs at high school football games over his brother.
Yeah, no. Hang on. Chandler Morris, Chad Morris, his son.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he was the starter over Duggan and got hurt in the first game last year. That's the only reason Duggan played last year.
Yeah, no, I think this TCU team, they could boat race Colorado, but the hype is going to be there just with Coach Prime being on the sidelines. This is going to be an important game for his career because, for one, we've never seen Coach Prime get blown out before. Keep it real. In all the HBCU world, we've never seen him take a big
loss. Whoa. Put some respect on South Carolina State.
South Carolina
Easy
State,
now.
What was the score?
31-10?
Yeah.
I'll get that block.
Kobe's feelings were hurt, bro. His South Carolina, he about ripped off that shirt to show South Carolina
That's how you
State.
know what zero's getting close, bro.
The comment on the bottom.
There's no overreaction, not an overreaction tonight unless y'all can think of any. I couldn't find any. And I was not going to force it.
I blame on 3.
Okay, I got one for you.
What's up?
Overreaction, not overreaction. Did y'all see the ESPN edit where they said that the DN for Georgia, who's a freshman last year, was it McHale? How do you pronounce it? McHale?
Yeah, it's like McHale Williams.
They had him listed as a top 5 player in the country.
Yes, he's that good.
You think he's a top 5 player in the country?
He can be by the end of the year.
Top 5?
Reaction. Let me see
it
first.
Top 5 player just off the top of my head in the country.
Yeah,
yes.
Go ahead. Name him.
Caleb, Marvin, Harold Perkins. Put Blake Corum in there. And then I would say safe bet, go Drake. Top 5. Unless you want to go like technical with O linemen that are gonna just in the middle of nowhere when they hit the combine, somebody drafts them like 4th overall.
DeAndre, I think the real question is how does Colorado prepare for TCU? Like, if we being honest with you.
Yeah.
TCU's gonna beat, like you said, Kelly. They're gonna boat race those boys.
It could get ugly.
No.
It'll be a good. It's a good game for Sonny Dykes, right? If you think about Sonny Dykes, they didn't know that Coach Prime was going to be there, but for him to add a win like this early in the season, it's going to be good for his quarterback, who's getting the reins again, starting again, Morris, and the rest of this team that's kind of looking like, damn, we just lost a lot, right? We lose our top running back, top quarterback, top receivers. Can we still win? And this might just be a tune-up game for them.
Yeah. I will say though that the future for Colorado could be bright potentially because they got a few pieces, like Dylan Edwards, man. That kid can flat out fly. Like seeing him on tape and everything. Like you got Dylan Edwards, Cormani, and Travis. Travis is looking amazing with his ball skills. It looks like it's gotten even better, to be honest with you. But it's still just way too many questions. I really have to see how Shador plays at this next level.
Yeah, we'll see. But I looked up for McHale Williams. Did not start last year and led Georgia with 31 quarterback hurries last year.
No.
As a true freshman.
That kid's a freak.
At 6'5", 265.
When they did that breakdown of him, I don't know whatever that one big breakout game he had was.
What position is he?
He's
DN.
Defensive tackle to DN. He can play either one. He's a freak. I'm telling you, he could be a top 5 player in college football by the end of the year.
His shoulder was probably about that far off the ground when they did one of those slow tapes of him bending around the corner. The way that his body was bent, I was like, bro, there's no way that you can be that big and that flexible and that fast. That was, and he's going to be a problem.
Oh, I gotta look this dude up.
Oh, he's a freak.
Yeah, so I don't think that's an overreaction. I think he could be one of the best defensive players in the entire country this year.
All right, I got one. So Caleb Williams goes back-to-back, wins another Heisman. Overreaction, underreaction.
Not an overreaction.
Not an overreaction. It's definitely a possibility.
Yes. I think that's probably like odds-on favorite to do that.
I think he is favorited.
He should be. If you're a returning Heisman winner, you got to be the favorite. Like, I know it's tough it's only been done once, but I mean, how do you give anyone better odds to win it other than the guy who just won it last year?
Here's the thing, though. Do we ever really think the Heisman voters are going to actually be willing to give somebody 2 Heismans in a row?
They should. That's what aggravates me. It's the same reason it was the same reason I was mad about the whole freshman sophomore never winning the Heisman until it happened.
Right.
It should be judged. So we shouldn't say this guy won it last year. We need someone else to win it. It should be we're taking just this season into account, who was the best player in college football up for this award. If Caleb Williams puts up the stats and does it, I don't care that he won it last year. He deserves it again. Like, you shouldn't make the distinction like, oh, we already won it, so let's give it to the second best player in college football. It's just stupid. It's the same thing with like NBA MVPs, NFL MVPs.
Right.
It just is ridiculous. Like, the top players should be winning the MVPs. We shouldn't be giving it to other players because we feel bad that other players don't get that award. If you want that award, go earn it. Be better than the guy who's winning all the damn awards then.
I definitely agree, because I feel like you could probably bring up a couple people in the last like 15 years of guys that were not just like a one season Heisman winner at like junior or senior year, but not to bring him up, but he finished as a Heisman finalist 3 times and won it once. Tebow.
I was thinking Deshaun Watson. He was a
Deshaun Watson.
finalist 3 times and they never gave it to him.
No.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain guys, certain guys that might be generational talents where you go, okay, they deserved another Heisman, right? Guys like Reggie Bush, guys like Vince Young. You see these guys out here and you got to think like, what type of accolades do they deserve? Maybe one Heisman isn't enough, because sometimes these players dominate college football. We saw how Johnny Manziel dominated college football for 2 straight seasons. Same way Tim Tebow dominated for 3 seasons. During those eras, you'd like to think that those players would get the accolades that they deserve. So I think double Heisman should definitely be a thing. That's why I brought up for overreaction, underreaction, because I thought to myself, would it be a big surprise if Caleb Williams won the Heisman this year? And the only surprise would be that they gave it to somebody back-to-back. Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
Because it'd be stupid. Because could you imagine, like, let's just take it, like, if Cam Newton came back, like, let's just say he comes back for one more year at Auburn. Would there have been any argument that he was the best player in college football again?
Nope.
Zero. Like, you would have had to give it to him, but the odds are they probably wouldn't have, just because he won it the year before.
Because who would have been following year with a running back, right?
So what was that, 2011? Because what, Manziel won it in 2012.
Cam won in 11, 2012 was a Bama running back, wasn't it?
No, that was the year before.
No,
Ingram
right.
won it. Yeah, Ingram won it in 2009. No, it was RG3.
RG3 won it the year after Cam?
Yeah.
I thought RG3 won in 13.
So 13 was Jameis.
Yeah, 13 was Jameis.
11 was RG3. 12 was Manziel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If he comes back, he'd definitely win it over RG3.
Yeah. But they could have given it to RG3 just because Cam won it the first year. Like, there's certain players that it's just like, man, you would have had to give it to him. And like the fact that Peyton didn't win it is just ignorant as well. And it's just, and there's just all kind of biases. Like, I hate the voter bias against like certain teams. Like, Mark Ingram didn't deserve the Heisman Trophy in 2009.
Is that the Auburn fan in you?
No. Hang on. Let me throw it at you. Mark Ingram didn't lead the country in rushing yards. Didn't lead the country in yards per carry. Didn't lead the country in rushing touchdowns.
Oh, shit.
It was a team thing. That was a team thing.
What
That
won him the Heisman? Like,
because Alabama and Nick Saban has never had a Heisman winner. They wanted Saban and Bama to have that, and Bama never had a Heisman winner up until Ingram. You had to give Bama a Heisman. Are you telling me that Mark Ingram was a better player than Ndamukong Suh that year?
Oh, okay. I forget about Suh.
And Suh finished 3rd.
Who was ahead of Suh?
The running back who led the country in touchdowns, in yards, Toby Gerhart from Stanford.
I remember him.
So hang on, look, I got it right here. Okay, so I'm just going to give y'all blind stats. I don't know who I'm reading first. One running back had 1,600 yards, averaged 6 yards per carry, and 17 touchdowns. Another running back had 1,800 yards, averaged 5.5 yards per carry, and had 28 rushing touchdowns.
And he didn't win it. 28 touchdowns.
But what about?
I will say this: the Heisman campaign from Alabama and Mark Ingram was way different than the Heisman campaign from Toby Gerhart and Stanford. All right, I will say that too. The whole year we were getting fed Mark Ingram. You know what I mean? Is the best, and he's the Lamborghini. He's one of the top prospects. So I will say part of this is also campaigns and how campaigns are run for sure. Because
Yeah.
Tony Gerhart did look better.
I would have been so mad.
Oh, and my bad. Sue finished 4th. Colt McCoy was 3rd.
Okay.
What about I don't even know. I could be wrong. I want to say I feel like he was a top 5 in Heisman, but I don't know if he was 3 and was invited top 3 and was invited to the ceremony. What about Monty Ball?
Yeah, I want to say he was he wasn't a finalist, but I want to say he was on the ballot.
Yeah, because I would say that there was that one year where he was. I mean, I think to this day, I could be wrong. Doesn't he have the most career touchdowns?
It's something like that.
By
Like
any player that's not a quarterback. He scored over. I want to say like it was 100 touchdowns in his career.
So he finished 4th in 2011, the year RG3 won it.
Yeah, I remember him in college. Man, he was.
Okay, hang on, time
yeah.
out. So hear me out. How does a running back win this award anymore? Because hang on, Monty Ball, the year he finished 4th, I want to say, he had 1,900 yards, averaged 6.3 yards per carry, and had 33 rushing touchdowns with 6 receiving touchdowns, and finished 4th.
And I want to say,
I don't see how you if you can do that and finish. I don't know.
wasn't that also the same year where he almost broke LaDainian Tomlinson's record before Melvin Gordon broke it?
Yeah, and you want to hear the worst part? He finished 4th. There was a running back that finished above him. Any guess what school he went to?
Let me guess.
Alabama. Trent Richardson.
Richardson, yep.
Oh my goodness.
Trent Richardson had 300 less yards, averaged 1 yard less per carry, and had 12 less touchdowns, and still got more votes than Monty Ball. And the difference is Trent Richardson had 978 votes. Monty Ball had 348 in school, and so it was literally only because he went to Alabama.
A travesty.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Monty Ball that one year was a problem, boy.
Yeah, 33 rushing touchdowns. I don't care where you play. That is ignorant.
Seriously.
And to do that in that amount of games too. I mean, the year that LT did it for the Chargers when he had 31. The 31.
Yeah, something like that. And they didn't have bowl game. Like bowl game stats didn't count back then. So he did that in the regular season.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask y'all this, right? If you do win, like if Caleb Williams wins a back-to-back Heismans, does he have to be considered the GOAT of college football?
No.
He
wins back-to-back.
2 Heismans?
Someone's done. Do we consider Archie Griffin the GOAT of college football because he won back-to-back Heismans?
Archie
Griffin's the only person to ever do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Do we consider him the GOAT?
No.
Is he even top 15? No. Okay, so yeah, Caleb Williams isn't even in the discussion.
Would you say even if he wins it back to back, you think he's a better college quarterback than Baker? I saw a thing the other day that Baker is top 3 quarterback.
No,
because if Caleb Williams, if he doesn't win the Pac-12 this year, he isn't even. I don't think he's top 10 all time.
Like Baker's
quarterbacks
playoffs was a possession away from beating Georgia against.
Yeah. You gotta win. Like you have to win something eventually. Like it's cool you won back-to-back Heismans, but if you don't win anything either, like then I'm sorry, I can't give it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I think as skillful as Caleb is, you got to win the games, win the Pac-12 first. But Baker going to the college football playoff was big for Baker, right? A lot of people thought he couldn't do it. He couldn't lead a team there, and when he did do it, that was a milestone. So I'd say that Caleb Williams has to at least make it to the college football playoff for him to get in this conversation.
Yeah, and I think for a quarterback, if you're in the GOAT discussion, bro, you better have a natty on the resume.
We talked about that already in the podcast.
Yeah, how are you next to Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, all these quarterbacks, and you haven't won your conference yet? You weren't even in the same book at that point. We got different bookshelves for you until you win a natty before you get in the discussion.
Is a national championship appearance enough, or do they have to win it?
No, you gotta. We talked about that in the one.
You
episode.
can be in the discussion.
Win it.
No, you could be in the discussion maybe if you get there, but to be the GOAT, you got to win it. I'm sorry, you do, because bro, I watched Cam Newton carry a team of us 4 to the national title and win it. I'm sorry, there's no excuse to play at USC and you can't win your conference, no excuse in today's age. And I'm sorry, Lamar. That's why Lamar Jackson can't be in the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, for his sake though, he was never going to be able to.
I'm sorry, bro. Auburn was worse than any Louisville team that Lamar Jackson played on.
Yeah.
There's no Lamar Jackson is not in the GOAT discussion at all for college football. It's not even close. It's not. I don't bring his name up. I can name 10 quarterbacks before Lamar before he comes up in my GOAT discussion.
Yeah, Lamar. I mean, it's going to take a lot of investigating for me to put Lamar in the top 10. Just because I mean, like he's one of my favorites, right? How he looks out there, some of his single game stats for sure puts him in that type of conversation. But if you talk about career wise, some of these guys' careers are pretty extensive. Some of these guys were putting up 4,500 yards a year, right? So when it comes to looking at those stats and the numbers, I'm not sure if Lamar sizes up. So maybe a guy like Deshaun Watson, right?
Yeah.
He's more on that side where he started longer, has more numbers, and has played with, honestly, a better team than Lamar got to play with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it really, Deshaun, like, people forget, like, Clemson wasn't the Clemson that, like, you think of today before Deshaun took them there. Right. Like, they had Taj Boyd and a lot of, DeAndre Hopkins and a lot of talent. Clemson was a trash program before Dabo got there. Like, people forget how bad Clemson really was for a long time. And they had, like, their bright points under Taj, but it took Deshaun Watson to make that team a national championship contender.
I want to say, we can credit Taj. I want to say Clemson didn't get their real, like, relevance in terms of being a football program if it wasn't for C.J. Spiller, honestly.
Well, he was on that same team, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he?
It was Taj and C.J.
Yeah, it was Taj and C.J. They were on the same team.
I thought C.J. Spiller was a year before Taj, because didn't T.J. Spiller came in and started as a freshman, didn't he?
Well, I'm just talking about like they played on the same team. Like I think C.J. came a year before her, but like when they hit their peak together, because it was what C.J. You had was it Sammy or DeAndre?
C.J.
Yeah, I mean, that offense was disgusting.
Oh, that was my team on NCAA.
Oh yeah,
that was
I was gonna say Martavis Bryant, but that was too early.
Yeah, I think that was even before
Martavis Bryant played with DeAndre Hopkins,
got there.
Martavis Bryant was the same, played on a DeAndre Hopkins team, didn't he?
My goodness, I was gonna bring that up. That helicopter hit. Every time somebody says Deshaun Watson's name, I think about that hit, man.
I love that play.
I would never forget that play.
Because some quarterbacks are scared of the moment. And Deshaun said, I don't care, bro. Take my head off. We getting this first down.
Bro.
Yeah. I think that the two plays leading up to how that whole thing ended, man, you have Mike Williams with that Moss, and then my man just back of the end zone, little Hunter Renfrow out of nowhere. You're Danny Wood to the country.
Illegal play.
Are you mad that Bama lost the title game, bro? They should have ran it.
Yes, honestly, I will admit, I'm mad that they lost like that. That play, bro, it was not legal, and we just let it slide because oh my God, Bama's gonna lose. I didn't like how they went.
Yeah, Kobe's a real Beamer boy, dog.
I never like how they won.
Can't stand to see Clemson get a dub.
Well, I bet you Miami fans are pissed. Miami fans are pissed. You want to know why Miami fans are pissed? The refs said they were like, man, the refs have to stay out of it. Remember that, like, what was it, 2002? Miami should have went back to back in the early 2000s, and they called that pass interference. That was definitely not a pass interference. Oh man, if I was a Miami fan watching that, I'd be sick.
Was that where the famous Larry Coker interview came from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that was just disgusting. That was nasty work, as Markle would say. Like the fact they called that pass interference is just nasty. That ruined the U documentaries for me. I turn it off like part 2 when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's not fun anymore after that part.
No, I just turn it off. I don't even want to watch it. It just makes me upset for them.
I would honestly investigate that man for betting, bro.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna investigate that referee. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
taking a natty away from Ohio State. I don't know how many they have, but we're taking one away because of that.
I would still claim it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was still gonna claim that natty. Call me UCF. I was gonna claim that natty.
Oh man.
God. Every time that topic brought up, man, I hate them for that so much. I hate them for that so much.
Thank
Like
you.
my dad was living in Tampa, and my stepmom went to UCF, and she was like, "Those people are weird." And like the license plates of national champions on the back of your car is like, "Come on, bro."
Yeah, that's going too far. That's going too far. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in and watching another episode of FBS Friday. We will see y'all again next week. Even Blue, we'll probably be in Atlanta next week for the
Yeah.
So we'll see about next week. But if not next week, from that point on, I mean, the season will be here. We'll be gone. So thank y'all so much for tuning in, man. We'll see y'all next time. We out.